This canal has been working for millenniums to bring the water from the Vesuvius and used to fill the ancient aqueduct underneath the city center of Naples.
The world's getting hotter every year, with scientists warning we could be nearing the point of no return when it comes to climate change. In fact, 2023 was the warmest year on record. And increasingly, it appears no matter what we do to reduce carbon, we'll have to learn to live with warmer temperatures. Here in the southern tip of Europe, where empires that changed the world have risen and fallen, one solution could lie deep in the past.
I'm in Naples, Italy, where ancient underground waterways could play a vital role in future-proofing the city against climate change.
My visit to the city comes during an unseasonably cool winter. But for people like Alexander Valentino, it's another reminder of the heat that is to come.
Alexander, how did this idea first come to you?
You know, we are doing the walk I was doing every day to go to the office. And during the summer, even at 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun is rising up from the Vesuvius and is lighting the street here, making it that hot, even 35, 40 degrees already at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was reaching the office completely wet with sweat.
Wow. Have you noticed the extreme heat getting worse in your lifetime living in Naples?
Earlier there were more trees, and today there are just a few. After the Second World War in particular, the city was filled with concrete and cement everywhere, and all the open air water was covered and privatized. Everywhere in the city there were fountains and wells. My generation haven't experienced the water in the city.
Which has made the situation, by the sounds of it, even worse.
Which doesn't give any possibility to citizens to fresh themselves either. Earlier they were taking freshness from fountains and wells.
By freshness, Alexander means to cool the city down, which has become his life's mission. Scientists warn that Naples and at least 5 other Italian cities will face longer and more frequent heat waves in future. It's led Alexander to co-found the Cool City project, which aims to use an ancient network of aqueducts and waterways lying beneath the city's surface to combat the effects of hotter summers.
Stories have been told about several buildings here in the street which hold water basins, which still keep water coming from the aquifer in the city. And they need to call trucks and pump the water out of these tanks twice a year at least. And I was thinking why this water couldn't come up again and flow down in the street here on a small canal underneath the beautiful trees bigger than this size to have a big shadow. We could sit and enjoy the space and get the freshness from the water flowing underneath.
And how would that work? What is underneath our feet currently?
Underneath here, there is a maze of canals which are filled with the water coming from the eastern aquifer.
Some of these canals have existed for around 2,000 years. They're so old that it's hard to find any mention of them in maps. Alexander and his team have been poring over historical records from as far back as the 1700s to find traces of the water that once flowed through Naples. Some of the records aren't available to the public, so they've been forced to turn to private collectors like Domenico Russo, whose passion project is running his own archive.
Aha, allora.
What do we have here?
Questo libro è molto antico e nella nostra collezione è il
He has selected a bunch of books. This is the most ancient one he has taken for us out from his collection, and it shows a chapter dedicated to the waters of Naples. This is a map we haven't seen ever. This is showing the mythical river of Naples, the Sebetos. We don't know anymore where it flows, probably underground, and is reaching here the city center in a way that we really didn't expect.
How old is this map?
This is 1856, so it is before the unification of the country.
Wow.
The Sebeto River was described the first time by Roman army sieging the city of Naples. And since then, we don't really have many maps describing the position of the river.
So it must be incredibly exciting for you to get the chance to see these rare maps and actually see what's under the ground.
It is. We are going to take all the pictures here, and maybe we will also take pictures of the text in order to read it precisely and deep. This is really nice. Thank you really much.
The Cool City team take pictures of maps like these wherever it can find them, and then matches the records with its own observations.
We have the actual satellite map, and we overlay it with old maps, and every point in the old map it's connected with a contemporary map, and we see also all of the maps, so it's also distortion, and in the newer map you can make it a little bit more easy.
So these older maps can't be trusted exactly, but they give you an idea of the work you're doing.
It is for us very important because the old maps, they show us where the line of the underground aqueduct, and they show us also where's the point to access. You see this?
Point of access, go down now.
We're at an ancient Roman aqueduct and about to go in and see what's there. And as I say, this has existed for centuries. Alexander, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
So ready for the next
I am
survey?
indeed. Very
I'll
excited.
Give this to you.
Okay.
You need it because it's dirty and wet and cold inside there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Ready to go?
Ready to go. Let's enter the cave.
Wow, this is a very tight space.
Hold yourself with your hands.
Right, let's go. That is quite a drop.
Bravissimo.
Oh,
Take care.
Made
Come
it.
in this way.
thank you. We're going to be going through quite a tight little tunnel to see what's down here. It's really warm, it smells quite dank, and there's kind of this sludgy material absolutely everywhere, so I am very glad I'm wearing this suit.
Okay, follow me.
It's so tight down here. Alexander, what are we down here to see? What is this place?
This canal has been working for millenniums to bring the water from the Vesuvius and used to fill the ancient aqueduct, which was underneath the city center of Naples. Because of the amount of water, the water rate of the eastern aquifer, which is really big, it was very useful for the growing population of Naples. You see, it's clear water here. It's clean water.
So I know for 40 years this has been disused, but what was it used for before?
So 1943, the English and the American used the canal to take water and pump it up on the hills of Naples and bypass the damages provoked by the bombs, by the aircraft bombing. This canal could be, in fact, used to fill the ancient aqueduct of the city center of Naples again. Not for drinking water, but as we suggest, to cool down the urban environment of the city center.
The water is getting deeper and deeper as the space gets tighter and tighter. If you've got claustrophobia, this is not the space for you. It's getting tighter and tighter. The space down here is really, really tight. And as you can see, Alexander is going in there to see what's on the other side. I think I'll leave him to it.
Up ahead, the water is too deep and the ceiling too low. Alexander and his team have had to turn back.
Welcome back. What did you find down there?
That's a building site going on in the station of Poggioreale, the metro station, Metro 1. They've thrown the cement in the canal, which is a pity, because the recovery and the reuse of the canal would be more difficult with that. So we have to go back here. We cannot go farther.
It's modern problems like these the Cool City initiative will have to address if it wants to use this ancient infrastructure to cool Naples.
Modern infrastructure maybe last 30, 40 years. Those have lasted for more than 2 millenniums. And I'm sure they can be useful for the next millenniums coming.
While we make our way back to the main chamber, Alexander's colleague Martin uses a 360-degree camera to map the interior of the aqueduct. He'll later feed that data into open-source software to build a 3D map of the space.
Now we're walking through another section of the aqueduct, of the ancient aqueduct. Take care here, there's more water.
Oh wow, so this is knee-high. Pretty cold water.
Getting deeper.
Navigating these spaces isn't easy, but that doesn't stop Alexander and Martin from recording the images they need.
If there is roughly 2/3 of the map of the entire underground system of the city, we need to figure out what of this infrastructure can be reused for our proposal. And also, there are just maps, there are no 3D models, and we are doing that with our technology to have this documentation, which is fundamental for our work.
How can you get the water that's down here up there on street level?
Yeah, there are often wells, so holes above the canals, right, or basins. We could pull the water up through simple pumps supported by windmills or by solar panels, which gives the energy to pull up the water.
It's not just the water. The Cool City project also wants to use the cold air in these caverns and vent it up above, almost like an air conditioner.
We can even just use holes and let the freshness coming up, because here we have temperature of roughly 15 degrees, and opening holes will give already freshness to the above surface.
Do you have any idea how many of these hidden tunnels exist under the city of Naples?
The entire city has this infrastructure underneath, and wells to connect with the overground. And wells are connected often till the top of the building, till the last floor.
I know that this water is supposed to cool the city, but it's currently really cooling my legs, so let's get out.
Alexander and his team initially used laser scanning technology, but equipment like this can be quite expensive. So they eventually came up with a cheaper way to create 3D models of the ancient canals.
We used photogrammetry. The photogrammetry, it means you take pictures from an object or from a place from every angle you can imagine. So you make here and here next, a next one, a next one. Mm-hmm. And then after you have taken all the pictures, or with a panoramic camera or with every other camera, I put it in the computer program and looking for all the points they are together from different pictures. And he gives me out the 3D model.
And this is what you end up with?
And for instance here, in this well, it must be very detailed, so I've used also my reflex camera, the professional camera.
The detail here is just incredible. I mean, even the curves of the wall, the flooring, I mean, absolutely everything.
Picture, the paintings.
Yeah, the detail is absolutely incredible.
Once Alexander and his team have mapped what exists down below, It's time to find out how they plan to cool what's above.
Wow, look at this beautiful square.
Yeah, we are here on the side of the Duomo, the Cathedral of Naples. We have seen the main canal of Bolla, reaching the border of the city walls. From that point, different branches are entering the city center. There is one entering the street, right below this street here. Every building is connected to this water.
How would you use your process to cool a building like this?
The floors of those buildings in the city center of Naples have the highness of between 5 and 7 meters. But usually today, for heating issues, there is another ceiling, a second ceiling, which makes the floor lower, right? In between these floors, we could think to move this freshness and be then spread inside the apartments. We could then even think to let the water flow down again on the surface of the elevation, of the facade of the building. For sure, those would need some more effort to cover the facade with the right materials.
This is where the Cool City project really comes together. During hot summers, they want to use all the cool air and water that flows beneath the city. Using a network of wells and pipes, the water will be brought up, either through wells or fountains, to spray neighbourhoods and buildings. It can also be used to increase greenery. Trees and plants can cool their surroundings by releasing water vapour through their leaves. And the same network of pipes and wells will also be able to bring cold air up from underground caverns. The hope is to create a constellation of cooling nodes throughout the city by tapping into the ancient infrastructure below.
If this infrastructure already exists, why did it stop being used?
It was at one point forbidden to use this water because when the new aqueduct was built, they needed to sell the water through the pipes and the water was reaching all the apartments. And so they forbid the use of that water, of the ancient water.
When was that?
It was in 1887 when the law was issued.
And so the infrastructure already exists, it's there, but people have forgotten about it.
People have forgotten. People actually started even to throw rubbish inside the wells and fill those basins. Slowly, it is happening for cultural reasons that everybody is starting to take care of the city. And those basins and infrastructure are also discovered slowly in a private manner.
The Cool City project has to convince a lot of people to let them use this ancient infrastructure. So they've teamed up with other engineers and scientists to raise awareness of how Naples can one day combat the effects of climate change.
What makes Naples at particular risk of extreme heat?
All South Italy, South Europe, North Africa is at the same risk. Napoli, particularly Napoli, is a large town with 3 million people inside, and in order to cool themselves, use the split system. So this is a problem, because when I put my hot air and pump it out of the apartment, I am creating a so-called heat island.
Heat islands are places that are usually landlocked and full of concrete with little to no greenery. Because of this, they attract and retain more heat than surrounding areas, and this can be harmful to our health, causing heat-related deaths and illnesses such as strokes, respiratory difficulties, cramps, and exhaustion. It can also lead to increased energy costs and even alter local weather patterns.
The well-being of the body is not related only with the temperature. It's related on how you exchange heat. Temperature is one of the quantities, but not sometimes the most important. For instance, this wood has the same temperature of this iron. If I touch the wood, I don't feel cold. I feel cold here, but it's the same temperature because I'm transferring much more heat from my body than touching wood. So water and also air movement can create cold. For instance, if you wash your face, you feel cold because of the evaporation of the water, not because the water is cold. And this is why passive enzyme systems work, using all these quantities: temperature, humidity, air movement, and all of them are part of a world that is energy.
We all hear lots of concerns about climate crisis and its effects, but how optimistic are you about this process and its ability to decarbonise?
I really am not so optimistic to think that we can contain the heating of the atmosphere at a level lower than 1/2.
Renato's referring to the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement, where nations from across the world agreed to try and limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels.
Probably we will reach the 2 degrees centigrade. Anyway, we have to do something. We are doing this for us, for ourselves, but also to show a way. And I am sure that others will follow, because the way is good and because the technology we are developing is useful for all.
Are these the volcanoes?
Yeah, this is the Vesuvius, which is after an explosion divided in two mountains. We call the one on the right Vesuvius, and on the left is the Monte Somma, the Somma mountain. And the aqueduct of Bolla is starting right there in Somma Vesuviana.
This is where it begins and then makes its way down into the city.
Yeah.
So Alexander, here we are in the outskirts of Naples. Why have you brought us here?
I brought you here to show you this canal. This is the water coming from the Vesuvius. So if you see over there.
Yeah, I can see it's flowing
there's
down.
Lots of water. This is the water from the aquifer, which is a huge underground river moving towards the sea in this direction. Unfortunately, just around the corner there is the cleaning sewage system. All this water is just poured into the sewage system.
So is this an example of what you'd like to see in the city?
Yes, let's say we would like to design narrower canals, but with water flowing like in this one. Actually, even here, you know, people, if you ask, they will still remember. On the side of the canals, there were trees all the way up to the mountain down towards the city. And all these plants, all these trees, together with the water, they work together. The collaboration of green areas and of blue areas provoke a movement of the air, which is contrasting the heat islands.
Blue areas are ponds or rivers, whereas green areas have bushes, trees and plants. When those interact, they make the air near them move, which helps bring down temperatures in urban heat islands. For the people living here, the remnants of this canal could mitigate the climate shocks of the future.
They used to fish here in the canal. It was full of fishes. Apparently during the winter for Christmas, they were doing community fishing here. But we can see that the water is also clean. You can see fishes, you can see lots of birds stopping here. So it gives biodiversity back towards the city, the design of Cool City.
Yeah.
The scope of the Cool City project is huge. But without the hope and ambition of people like Alexander, we might never be able to make the changes we need to adapt to our warming world. Alexander and his team want to dig into Naples' ancient roots and transform its modern landscapes to help tackle the biggest crisis of our times. And he thinks the solution has always been there, lying just a little below the city's surface and in the memories of Neapolitans.
Many stories of the water of Naples came to me with my father. He's 97 years old. and he still remembers through the stories of his fathers and uncles about the connection between water and the city, which has lasted for millenniums. It was a relationship, like a love affair, which made the city grow and last for so long. This connection, from our point of view, has been lost in the last years.
You've got a really difficult task ahead of you. You have to get the buy-in of not just the authorities to do this, but also the citizens of this city. How are you going to do that?
It must come from the citizens first, from Neapolitans. They might go back to their culture and to the history of the city, even through stories told by their parents and grandparents, through the movement of a culture and of a folk. Maybe a change can happen.
What difference will this make to cities like Naples and other cities around the world dealing with the effects of climate change?
In ancient cities like Naples, some designers or developers must say we have to knock down and put modern in it. No, this is the same thing they've said in the past, and thinking to modernize the city, they've just destroyed it. No, we believe sometimes going into the future must be done looking at the past.
Is this a change you hope to see in your lifetime?
No, I don't think I will see it. Maybe not even my son and daughters. No, I think it is something that can be seen in centuries. But in the life of a city like Naples, a couple of centuries are nothing.